absolutely delighted to have Greg representing all of you. The bios of the task force are available on our website, and we're very ably supported by the Secretariat in Ottawa, headed by Susan Murray, who is with us this morning. Since we began meeting in July, we've covered a lot of ground. Some of our observations and thoughts to date are shown on the screen, and I would emphasize the range and depth of financial literacy as going very far beyond, for example, education in high school. We speak to many individuals who think of financial literacy as educating our kids for the future. And while that is a vital component, it is obviously a very long-term solution to financial literacy. And in fact, financial literacy covers so many topics that it's really going to be a challenge to come up with incisive, focused, actionable recommendations for such a vast arena. Retirement would just be one of these, for example. So I've mentioned some of the scope, and I would draw your attention here to consumer behavior as an emerging focus of a lot of research around the world. The arena of behavioral economics is becoming a very vital part of financial literacy. Our work has considered activities in other countries, most notably the four shown on the screen: Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and the United States. And as you can see, these countries have published numerous reports and directional documents that have been very helpful to the work of the task force. I'd also make a side observation that they seem to come in batches of documents of 100 pages each. I don't know what the magic is of 100 pages, but that's the average benchmark, so it makes getting through them some interesting work. Also, other countries have carried out research, and we're looking at all available international information as we build our recommendations for Canada. I mentioned a few of our stakeholders, and we've tried to capture these on the screen in a non-comprehensive but hopefully lively fashion. There's a great number of bodies are very interested in financial literacy well beyond governments. And here in Canada, having provinces and territories, each of whom, as I say, have jurisdiction in different aspects of financial literacy, you get a lot of people looking over our collective 13 pairs of shoulders. Coming to the amount of information, I alluded earlier to the batches of 100 pages apiece, there is truly an enormous amount of information out there that's relevant to becoming financially literate. And it's growing. Every year, approximately 6,000 new books are available. And one of the challenges of the task force is, of course, to survey all of this in a meaningful fashion without getting drowned in it. Occasionally, when I'm preparing for meetings of the task force, I surf a number of federal websites, all of which come from different suppliers, but all of which aim to provide advice and information relevant to financial literacy. And truly, you could spend your entire time on the internet doing research 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we'd still not be there by the end of next year. The amount of information is staggering. Let me say a few words on behavioral economics. There are some sophisticated words on the screen, but I'd simply draw your attention to the fact that there's plenty of information available to Canadians right now on how to do the right thing financially. And of course, that's not necessarily, and in fact, in a great deal of times, not often translating into action. Perhaps the best treatise we've seen recently in this arena is the book, the bestseller, Nudge, by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein, which in a very entertaining fashion describes how people do what people do rather than what people should do. The task force is keenly aware of this gap, as I mentioned earlier, and we're looking to bring in the concept of choice architecture into our findings. So let's go back to the foundation. And there are, of course, a wide range of active provincial initiatives in the formal education field. I'd like to make brief mention just of two of these. British Columbia has, for some considerable period of time, had a program in schools known as the City. And one of the individuals who helped develop it, Bill Swartz, is on our task force. The course was developed in partnership with the BC Securities Commission. And many of you will be aware that earlier this month, Ontario announced that it will be introducing financial literacy to grade 4 through 12 students in September 2011. And of course, there are other initiatives taking place across the country. The task force has been hard at work for several months now and is well along in the development of its consultation document, which we're aiming to issue in February 2010. The categories shown on the screen provide an outline of our work-in-progress framework. Another key foundation block is the survey going on by Stats Canada. And that survey has been in the works for some considerable period of time. It's scheduled to report next month, and it'll form a vital baseline for measuring financial literacy going forward. The survey is entitled in terms of financial capability, which is another word or set of words sometimes used to substitute for financial literacy. The items on the screen show the range of topics covered by the Stats Canada survey, and that's available on their website, including, for those of you who have a special interest, the 53-page questionnaire, which is quite illuminating. Let's look forward to our milestones. This is our critical path from here to December 2010, and the consultation document, as I mentioned, is